Hello, welcome to Boardgames with Niramas. I'm Joseph or Niramas and I'm here today with Draco. And we are getting close to the halfway of the top 100. We're going from 60 to 51 here today, and yeah, I'm really excited to talk about all these fun games that I have on this list. And I will also ask you to like the video, press the like button down there if you do enjoy the video. If you enjoy videos like this, if you want to support the channel, you can go check out patreon.com/bgwniramas to see how you can support and get some fun rewards as well. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe down here. That supports the channel also. And I should also mention that these 10 games that I'm going to talk about today, they're going to show up behind me right in my videos of them. And if you want to check out the game a little bit more, well, you can check the title. You can search for the title of the game, but also just search for Niramas after that, or Draco, and you'll come to my videos. Because some of these are in the top of the search engine, some are not. The easiest way to find them is just to always add Niramas or Draco after the search of the game. So now let's go with number 60. And it is Saloon Tycoon. This is a game that I think has been a little bit overlooked. It was a bit hyped when it came out and all that, but I don't hear people really talking about it these days. Haven't played it in a little bit myself because there's so many games, but it's one of those games that are always in the back of my mind that I want to play soon. Saloon Tycoon is a really cool sort of, well, you're building a saloon in the Western, America, but you're doing it in 3D, which is really cool. So as you can see here on the video behind me, I'm putting out these little pillars because then you can put tiles on top of them as well and have more stories in your saloon. You're also trying to attract certain, like this Miss Watson here coming to your saloon because that can give you certain benefits or points. But you don't want to get these outlaws coming to your saloon because they will, stir up trouble and maybe they will steal your gold and so on. You can have these really nice gold tokens as well as your currency, and you're buying tiles. And you're competing for some goals out there as well that you're trying to reach before the other players. So it's a big market. There's a lot of, it takes up a bit of a space on your board, on your table. This sort of all these different tiles. But then you build on your own board like this. And you're trying to build up to score the best saloon in the West. Next up is, I think, Uwe Rosenberg's first game on my top 100. There might be others coming later on here, higher up on the list, but this is a two-player one. Fields of Arle, two-player game. Well, it's sort of three players these days because they did release an expansion that makes it a three-player game. But in this base, it's two-player, and it's all these ingredients of a classic sort of worker placement. You're getting resources, wood and stone and whatnot, in order to build stuff, build buildings. You can build these wagons that you can, really cool stuff where you build a wagon, and then you can load that wagon with some goods, and you can go out to all these cities in order to score points and sell your goods and all that. And there's a lot of interesting things in this game. You have your own board that starts out sort of clogged up with some marshlands, and you need to clear those out in order to both get peat, which is a resource as well, but also so that you can build more buildings, and you can build like stables and have your little animal meeples in there, just like in many of these games. And I really enjoy how this game is. I'm gonna fast forward a little bit here so we can see the main board. I really enjoy how this game is quite fast, and it's only for two players. And you go back and forth, and there's also like two different seasons. So you have the winter and the summer season, and every season, or like every turn, one of the players can do an action from the other season. So if we're in the winter, I can do a summer action, but if I do, then my opponent will become first player for the next round. So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. A lot of these buildings that you build to score points, but also to get certain benefits. Really enjoy it. Fields of Arle. Check it out if you like two-player farming games, basically. At 58, we have something totally different from farming. This is Blood Rage. Blood Rage is, I think, the sort of conflict game that I like the most. I think it's the conflict-oriented game that is highest up here on my top 100. Rising Sun was a little bit further down, but I think Blood Rage is even better because Blood Rage also has a fun mechanism, sort of Euro mechanism of drafting cards, which I love drafting cards. That's one of my favorite mechanisms in a board game. And then you use those cards in order to do different things. You can do actions. You can put out your troops on the map. You can upgrade your troops get special abilities. You can recruit monsters. There's really cool stuff like the giant over there, or up there. Really cool, these miniatures. Wow, this is such a cool game. And here I'm playing it with Keith, my friend, and Draco. And Keith has, Martin has just painted all of Keith's miniatures. So I really look forward. Keith, if you're watching, we have to play this with the painted miniatures. I really look forward to doing that soon. That's going to look a lot better. I mean, they still look cool like they are. But yeah, in this game, you're fighting it out in this sort of, what's it called? Like the Norse mythology, with all these gods and warriors. And it's kind of different in some ways as well, because it's not, when your units die, that's not just bad, because they go to Valhalla, right? And so they can score you points as well. So there's like strategies where you want your units to die, because that will net you a lot of points. So it's a bit different in that way, in that regard, from a lot of dudes on a map fighting it out games. I really enjoy Blood Rage. And then we head over to Chronicles of Crime. This is a game that came out last year from Lucky Duck Games. Really cool, really innovative game. So as you can see here, you're using your phone and you're scanning QR codes with your phone to solve a mystery, like a crime mystery, right? So you're like a detective, you're going around, you're interviewing witnesses, you're talking to them. You can ask the witness about an item that you found or a clue that you found. You can go talk to the police, chief of police, and ask him about a certain witness or a person. And the really cool thing with this app integrated games, which I really like it. I hope we get to see a lot more of that. The really cool thing is that the app keeps track of everything that happens. So the game can evolve as you play. You don't need that many components. You have a bunch of cards and these boards, and that's it. And then as you play, and as you go around doing these, trying to solve the mystery as fast as possible, because that's how you get a high score. And it's a cooperative game, by the way. But I played solo here. The story will develop with the app. So since the app keeps tracks of everything, all of a sudden a person may have moved, so he's not in the same place anymore, or a person may have died. Something, someone got murdered in the middle of the story, in the middle of the gameplay. It's so cool. I really enjoy it a lot. And I know that they made another game that I can't recall the name of now. If you know it, tell me in the comment section. But it's like a fantasy adventure game where you have the same system with scanning these QR codes cards. I really look forward to that one as well. I think it's coming next year. So yeah, Chronicles of Crime. And then over to another game that is very simple in its it's just 2 decks of cards, a little bit of a board here in the middle. Neuroshima Convoy. This is set in the same sort of universe as the Neuroshima Hex game that I never played. So I'm not really interested either, because it's like really abstract from what I understand. Conflict game. But in Neuroshima Convoy, it is a conflict game. One side is the humans trying to protect these cities from the invading robots and aliens from the other side. And you play, so you have a really asymmetrical game, because you have a deck for each player. And so those decks are really different, and we're playing out the cards like you can see here in columns in order to fight over these different cities. And the alien players are trying to destroy the cities and get to the end, while the human players are, using their skills and their effects in order to defend those cities. And here I'm playing with Max, my friend. Really had fun with him playing this game as well. It's been a long time ago now. This video is fairly old, but I really enjoy Neuroshima Convoy. It's a small box, and it's one of those games that I will always keep in my collection, and I really want to play more when I get the chance as well. So can really recommend a 2-player game, Neuroshima Convoy. And then back to app integration in games again. We have Lord of the Rings, Jonas in Middle-earth. This game is really, really cool. There's so much cool stuff going on here. If you played Mansion of Madness, the 2nd edition, you're going to recognize a lot of things here, because it's from Fantasy Flight Games, but it's Lord of the Rings and these sort of adventures you go on. And it's really nice how you have like a campaign going on, and the app can have it on Steam or on Android and iPhone. It keeps track of everything. You're in this app mode, as you can see here, and then the app keeps track of everything happening. How much health does each monster have left and all that. Then you go back to the board and you play like this, and you have these really nice cardboard tiles you put out, and you move your heroes and the monsters around on the board. And it's a cooperative game. Really enjoy it for solo. It's one of my favorite solo games. And yeah, this is so cool. I really look forward to, I think during like Christmas or New Year's there, I will get some time to just come back to this game and play a new campaign, because there's a new campaign that came out a while ago. And yeah, really enjoy it a lot. You use these, there's no dice rolling. You use cards instead to do different effects and actions, and you draw cards looking for successes to complete certain tests in order to complete a fight, do damage or find something. You search for something, you're trying to find it, you need to have a certain skill. So yeah, it's really cool, really enjoy it a lot. Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth. Next up is Orléans. Orléans is a Euro-style game. You have a bag that you're building with little chits that make it better and better as you go. And then you put these tokens, these little chits, out on your player board in order to activate, you use your workers sort of in order to activate different spots and do different actions. There's a lot of fun stuff going on in this game. You're trying to go out on this map and go around in France, as you can see here on the map, to pick up these tiles of goods. You're also climbing some tracks to get certain benefits and become better, getting more. Oh, here's Draco playing with me and Keith. And yeah, there's so much fun stuff going on in this game. I really enjoy it. And I just picked up Orléans Stories, which is sort of a follow-up here from Essen Spiel. I haven't played it yet, but it looks interesting. And in that one, there's some story elements as well. We'll see if that can beat the actual Orléans game. But for now, it's really cool. I really wanted to have this on my list, and I can recommend it. And at 53, I put Clank. Clank, a deck building game, and this is the original Clank. I prefer it more than the space game, actually. So in Clank, you are building a deck of cards. You start out with basic cards, and then you buy better cards as you go, and your deck becomes better and better. And it's all about this trying to go down into a cave and get the best treasure and get out before the dragon wakes up and, it's really, really angry. Some dragons don't like when you steal their stuff, right, Draco? So, Clank is a really fun game. I really look forward to Clank A Legacy, which is a new game, just came out recently. I hope I can grab that soon and play it, because it looks amazing. In Clank, the normal game that I'm talking about here and that I'm showing here, I think I'm playing with Draco or maybe solo, I don't remember. It's with Draco because we have the red and green. We are going down, further and further down this cave to get the better and better treasure. And the question is like a push your luck. When do you want to stop? When you want to pick up the treasure and be done and run out? Because it's also in a multiplayer game. When you run out, then the other players are sort of have a timer, because now the dragon starts waking up all the time. So they need to get out before they die. And it's always that interesting thing about how far will I push my luck. Right here I'm playing with the expansion where it's like an expansion board where it's water and all that. There's a bunch of different expansions with different themes and special effects going on. Really fun game, Clank, a deck building game. Next up is a game that is a bit special. It's Flamme Rouge. The game itself is a cool racing game where you're on bicycles and you're racing. I haven't made a video of this sadly, but what's kind of funny about this game is the fact that it's on this placement on the list. Because it was on my sort of list last year, but not in the top 100. I do make like top 300 or something, and then I just, work it out from there. So this game has actually climbed. This is the one that has climbed the most or moved the most on my list. This has moved 187 spaces up to this placement, which is crazy. But the fact is that when I started playing this with my friends, I think they liked it more than I did, and I sort of thought it was okay. It was an okay game. It was like, on my 200 something top. But then I played it a few times since last year again, and I played with the expansion that brought like weather effects and all that, and I had so much fun with it. I just had so much fun with this racing around the track game. I really love the card mechanism in this one as well. You have two different cyclists, and so you have two different decks, and every time it's your turn, you choose one of those cards. But when you use the card, it's gone. So the really good cards that make you move, a lot, those you need to, maybe you need to save those and make a push at the end of the track, or maybe you want to do it early to get ahead of the other players. There's so much fun stuff going on in this game. It's really one of those games when you're like almost a stand-up moment when you're the winner and you're like, yes, I made it in the end over the finish line. A lot of fun in this racing game. So I can really recommend Flamme Rouge. And at 51 and just, outside the top 50, this game is Nations. Nations is a game designed by Rustan Håkansson, a fellow Swede, and really nice guy as well. Really enjoy this game a lot. This game it's sort of fallen a little bit for me because I think at 2-player, I think I enjoy it mostly at 3 players. But the thing is, at 3 players, it's a fairly long game. On 2 players, it's a bit shorter, but I don't really enjoy it that much on 2 players because there's like asymmetrical effects, especially when you play with the expansion. That brings the different civilizations have different effects, and there could be a balance issue there. I think when you play on only 2, 1 player could get ahead, and it's hard to catch up and all that. So I think 3 or maybe 4 players is the best way to play it, but then it takes a long time. Anyhow, I really enjoy it. It's like sort of worker placement, but not worker placement, but worker activation. You have your little workers that you place on your cards, and the cards are buildings or they represent units that you can fight with. And I really like how this game is quite hard and punishing, but it's the game it's hard and punishing. It's not that you're attacking each other. So I can instigate a war basically, and that war will hit everyone at the strength level I am at. But then the other players have a chance to react and build up their strength so that they can survive the war, or they can build up their stability, which will also reduce the sort of losses or penalties they get for losing the war. So there's a lot of it's not like a multiplayer solitaire. There are some interactions in this game, and there's a card draft, most of all, out here on the main board up there. You're drafting cards every round, sort of by being the first to buy a certain card, buy a building or an effect. So there's a race to get the one that you want as well. But at the same time, there is a lot of Euro-ish style of planning and all that as well. And also a really fun little thing I can mention about this game that is quite different is that you can set different difficulty levels. It's sort of like almost like a digital PC game where you set the difficulty level at the start of the game. So if you're like 2 experienced players and you have a new player with you, then the experienced players can start at a higher difficulty level and get less sort of resources and so on, which is kind of interesting. I don't think I've seen that in any other board game actually. Really enjoy it, Nations. And that is concluding this week's list. I hope you enjoyed it. I really like doing these lists. I think it's so much fun. I hope you enjoyed watching them as well. And, tell me in the comment section if you agree with my picks or if there's any games that you think should, maybe you have recommendations for me. I mean, there's no way for one person to keep track of all the games out there, right? Even though I try to stay updated with everything coming out and so on. But yeah, there's a lot of games. And yeah, so I think me and Draco are going to call it a night and say thank you. We'll be back next Friday as well. And we'll keep doing this all the way up to Christmas. Have a great evening or morning or whenever you're watching. Take care. Bye-bye.
Do you want to keep this little dragon this happy all day long? Then subscribe to the channel.